like stigma about that, like in your family or maybe your friends? I mean, there's all different types of therapists. There's psychologists, psychotherapists, psychiatrists. But yeah, I just wonder that. I'm posing this question because I feel like, yeah, some people do, deal with stigma going to see a therapist of any kind. But I don't know. I feel like if you've lived enough life, at some point, you may need to talk to somebody, other than a friend, right? Because obviously, listen, we love our girlfriends. We love our boy friends. Like if you're a guy, you have guy friends. But they can be biased, right? Because they're on your team. They're on your team. So it's kind of nice to have like a third party. Well, today I am speaking with Brooke Bertrand. Remember that last name because it has, it is a big reason why she ended up naming her business Bright Raven Psychotherapy and Consulting. So we're talking with Brooke. She was lovely. Had a great chat. But before we do, I need to thank one of our major sponsors, Source for Sports. If you need anything sport-related, head over to see them on Fisher Street. Paul and the gang will set you up. I'm Lisa Boivin, and this is To North Bay with Love.
It's almost that time of year. Early mornings at the rink, fresh notebooks and backpacks, and a community gearing up for another great season of varsity sports. At Source for Sports North Bay, we're proud to be part of it all. Whether it's finding your kid's first pair of skates, gearing up for tryouts, or outfitting your team for the season ahead, we've got you covered. Because here, we're not just a sports store, we're neighbors, coaches, teammates, and fans. And we're proud to cheer you on every shift, step, and stride of the way. Visit Source for Sports North Bay at 1321 Fisher Street and let us help you along your way.
Were you working today?
No.
Okay.
Yes, I took an admin week.
Oh, nice.
But I'm not seeing clients, so I've just been doing other stuff just to try to get caught up. With the holiday on Monday, and I'm a hockey parent, so my daughter's at a tournament in Southern Ontario this weekend, so we leave Thursday afternoon. So, I'm not going to cram 10 people and then be tired going to her tournament.
No.
So I just took the week just to get caught up.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of that, you being tired, that's something that definitely I think about, being a psychotherapist or a consultant of any kind, you're having to be so present and so focused. With your clients. It must be, is there a limit of people you see a day? How do you kind of put your boundaries out?
Yeah. So my personal limit is between 4 to 5.
Okay.
Depends on the day, and I do my best to accommodate people who might need scheduling needs or that kind of thing. But if I go beyond 5, I'm definitely not my best self.
Yeah.
And I also stagger my appointments as much as possible. Again, accommodating people, but I try to keep 40 minutes between my sessions.
Okay.
It gives me enough time that if we happen to go over, I can stick with them without maybe pushing them out the door too quick. But then I have enough time to decompress, get other stuff done, have a bite to eat, pee break, all those things that you do self-care wise. Yeah. That's kind of how I structure my day. Plus I also, because I work for myself, I create my schedule, right? So
Perfect.
I work 2 evenings a week. I work a morning. I try not to work Fridays. If I do, I try to do it virtually. So I do lots of different things to make it work for me, for sure.
That is I love that you get to make your own. You get to make your own schedule.
Yeah, I hope to never work for an institution again because being my own boss is a big sense of freedom. There's a lot of other work involved. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. Right? There's still tons of work, but it's just the stage of my life with the age of my kids, my family structure, it's a big perk.
And that's the thing. It's it's that work-life balance that everybody talks about. Yeah. And I'm sure some clients come to you just even trying to talk about how, it's something you're constantly chasing. Yeah. And I say, I work at the hospital and I love what I do. But yeah, in the department I'm in, it's very stimulating. It's up in day surgery. We're registering. Sometimes we have 80 people coming through, or if I'm on ophthalmology, it's a busy day and people are coming in for cataracts. And right now, my hours, mostly I am doing full-time, but I'm not technically full-time. It's permanent part-time. But I say to the women who work full-time, I don't know how they do it, doing the 5 days. And I'm going, Canada, what is happening right now?
Yeah.
What's going on? How do we not have, and this is not me, listen, I've always had like 2 and 3 jobs, being an actor, have to pay for the rent and buy food. But I've always had, a couple of jobs, 2 or 3, because I love the variety. But yeah, it's that work-life balance of like having that extra day, like having a Friday.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people would say, yeah, I'd rather work kind of a little bit of a longer day and then have that Friday to just kind of do your your laundry, your groceries, you're doing all those kind of things to just, because I don't even have any flesh monkeys.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm exhausted by the end of the week. You know
well,
what I mean?
And I think that's it, right? Like, especially now we're not in community as much, right? We're farther away from our families. We have less and less resources communally, right? So it is tiring. People are tired. And we got $10 butter on the market. So like people are stressed and they have to provide and they have to work. So like the idea of work-life balance, I sort of think like, what is the flow of your life rather than balancing it? Because balancing may feel unattainable, but are you in flow and are the people around you in flow? And does that work is that currently working or do you have to reassess, right? What it's kind of looking like?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that feels a little more comforting for people because we do have stages and eras, right? Where we're going through the ups and downs of things. And I don't think balance is necessarily achievable in our modern society.
No.
I just don't. Like, there's too many pressures for women.
Yeah,
there's a lot of pressures on families. Like, it's a lot.
Yeah. And I might not be the best person to say this because I just said, I don't have kids, but I'm thinking, yeah, the pressures on women are crazy. They're on men as well. But this kind of modern notion of a woman having it all in her career and having it all as a mother.
Yeah.
I don't think that's attainable. I really don't. I think something's got to sacrifice, something's got to give, whether it's your well-being or, you know what I mean? Like, because there's only so many hours of the day.
There's only so much that people can do, right? Yeah. And I think that it is a lot of pressure when we say that you can do it all. And I like Michelle Obama said this, you can't do it all at once.
Right.
You can do lots and lots of things,
That's
but
right.
you can't do it all at once. So if you're telling yourself that doing it all means having it all in this moment, you're probably not going to feel good and you're probably going to, at some point it's not sustainable, right?
Yeah.
But if you, again, larger picture, right? I mean, we live like wolves in my house. Sometimes there's cat hair, like... I haven't vacuumed my mother would be, so upset with me if she knew this. But I don't vacuum my floors because it's not a priority.
That's right.
Getting my kids to practice, getting them fed, right, like they are the priority, and I will get to that when I get to it.
Yeah.
And I think, having that mental freedom to be able to like do that is it takes a lot of work.
Yeah, and allowing yourself to do that. That's, I think, a big thing too, right? Is this kind of notion of, I don't know if it's a social media thing where, everybody's posting their best, right? Their best moment, their best day, their best looking living room.
Yeah.
But it's allowing yourself to say like, okay, my house is a mess right now, and that's okay. I don't have to vacuum or fold this little laundry. It's 11 p.m. Yeah. I haven't eaten dinner yet, and I should probably go to bed. You know what I mean? Like just giving yourself that break.
Yeah.
In your practice, do you find you see more women than men, or is it a mix?
I have a good mix. I have a good mix. I work with couples, so I do see men through that work. I tend to focus on women who are like going through midlife identity and the struggles of midlife. I also work with a lot of frontline folks who are experiencing burnout or empathic strain in their jobs.
Interesting.
So nurses, teachers, physicians, that kind of thing. And then I do have men who come to me because I particularly like working with men. Men do not tend to find the therapy space very helpful. They may not necessarily feel that they can talk about it. They've been socialized into some very narrow emotional experiences. But I really enjoy working with men because I find I can get underneath some of that and help them just expand it. And they're some of my favorite clients.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you see, because you have kids, I'm not sure if you have boys or girls or
I have one of each.
Some of each. Okay.
Yeah.
In your son's like peer group and stuff, or just even talking to parents of boys, do you think that there is a shift into kind of saying you're upset and that's okay? You can cry, you can't, you know what I mean? Like you can talk about it. You don't have to punch a wall. You can,
I think that it's definitely a shift in this generation of parents are more open to allowing their kids to express their full emotions, right? Like probably because that previous generations didn't necessarily get that experience. I do think it's there, but we also have the counter influence through social media and our socio-political reality of the manosphere and the challenges of some of the more unhealthy elements of the manosphere. I want to give credit that there is a lot of good men doing good work in that area, but I think that there's just as many unhealthy influences that our boys are finding.
Okay.
And so it always starts at home. Parents can do everything they can to influence their kids and try to counterweight some of that. But it is another truth that there's some challenges in that as well for boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just getting back to when, frontline workers, crazy little story. I was hired at the hospital in 2020, July of 2020 to be a COVID clerk.
Okay.
Basically, had the interview. They were like, you have 2 legs and a heartbeat. Let's go. And I was like, great. And so we were kind of thrown in, and it was the Wild West for everybody, right? Didn't know what was happening, what was coming down the pike. Things were different every day. It was an amazing group of people that we worked with. Dr. Cowan kind of headed the whole thing at the hospital, and he was amazing to work with. And of course, then the N95 masks came in, the big ones, with the elastics. And at the hospital, every 2 years, you have to go and get a mask fitting.
Yeah.
Just to make sure in case anything happens. And I just had mine about a month ago. And anyways, went down there, love everybody, occupational health. Hey, here we go. And they kind of what they do to test to see if your mask works is they put this kind of hood on your head. And there's a little hole here, and they squirt like some flavored, basically like a sweet air in it. And if you can taste the air or smell it with your mask on, then that's not the right mask, right? Because there's obviously a hole.
Okay.
So it's got to be a good seal on your mask. So we're doing this, and she puts the hood on, and I know the process, and she gives me the mask that so far has been good. And so I'm talking to her, and I'm opening the bag, and I'm taking it out, and it was the weirdest. There was like something, just the smell of the elastics, and just kind of putting it on my head. I didn't think anything of it. I was like, okay, all right. But I started to get a little sweaty. And I was like, that's weird. Okay, anyway, put it on. Did the test. That was fine. And, she says, yep, this is still your mask. Okay, great. And went back upstairs, and I was in day surgery. And Cynthia Jackson, shout out Cynthia Jackson, I'll have to tell her. She's an incredible nurse, and she was with us in COVID. Now she's on day surgery. And she happened to walk by. I said, Cynthia, come here. She says, what? I said, I had the strangest thing happen just now. Because, you hear about PTSD. You hear about... But you hear about that with soldiers going to war. Like this was I was working at a hospital, Anyways, I said, I don't know what it was, but I said, I just, I explained what happened. And I said, I just started to get a little flushed, and I was like sweating, and I don't know, I just felt odd, And she stopped, and she looked at me, and she was like, Lisa, you were working during a world pandemic where thousands and thousands of people died, and we had no idea if it was going to get worse, or when it was going to come to get us, or if a family member was going to get it. Like, yeah, you probably had a reaction to that mask going back on, like give yourself a break. And I was like, okay, like I didn't, like you don't think of it until you have that kind of reaction.
Yeah.
And I felt silly.
Yeah.
I felt ashamed. Like I felt stupid. I don't know. It was just like.
Well, and I think in our industries, especially in healthcare or in other caring fields, the expectation that we care, which then somehow compartmentalizes our humanity as individual humans with our own life experiences. That compartmentalization is really challenging to navigate because you are a professional. There is a statement out there, this is what you signed up for. Right?
Right.
But none of us signed up for a pandemic that uprooted our entire lives, right? And people do the work they do. They don't sign up to be traumatized, right? They don't sign up for the ill effects of their work. They sign up because they care, because they're really passionate about their work. And these are the potential side effects of that work. Right. So the idea that that's the expectation is a disservice, right, to our population. So then, people do internalize it like, well, I'm not strong enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not a good nurse, I'm not a good healthcare worker, I'm not a good therapist because I'm having these very human reactions to a very difficult experience.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so if we internalize that and we're not, if we don't have good responses, if we feel like we don't have a good response to a situation, or every time we respond, it doesn't feel effective, we're not able to solve it, we're not able to get out of it like a pandemic, right? Then it reinforces that experience. And if we don't have effective support, if we are talking but we don't feel heard, then that entrenches that feeling even more, right?
Yeah, of just being stuck in that.
Stuck in it.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm finding the weeds.
Yeah.
Man, I feel like I'm having a session with you right now. It comes naturally to you. Like, and so it's, let me ask you, like, why, obviously people are coming to you when they're not in a great space. And so you're kind of internalizing a lot of that. But what made you kind of want to be a psychotherapist? Like, what made you have that calling to help, obviously to help, I guess, but...
I think I always had a keen interest in people from a very young age. I was always an observer. I was a quiet introvert, a bit of a dreamer. And so I really took in how people interact with the world from a very young age. And then I initially, when I started out at university, I was going to be a music teacher because I was also a musician and loved it. And that was not for me because it was also very competitive, and I'm not a competitive person.
Okay.
So I switched gears and decided to study psychology and mental health, and I was particularly interested in the intersection of law and mental health.
Okay.
So when I first started out, my hope and dream was to work in the justice system and doing mental health work in that system. I trained in the U.S. That's where I'm originally from.
No way.
Yeah.
Where are you from?
I grew up in North Dakota, which is borders Saskatchewan and Manitoba. Right?
Hey now.
So
Okay.
I've crossed the border in both of those places.
Yeah.
And then I went to Chicago for my master's. I lived in Chicago for 2 years. So I got to experience the city living and different kind of life. And so I really thought that I would work in the law and mental health because I had an interest in the law too.
Yes.
But I didn't think I could
Yeah.
gut it out through law school and be a lawyer. I didn't know if I really wanted to do that, but I wanted to do something that kind of, worked with people but had that kind of lens, right?
So you're going to do it, you're going to be mental health, but was it for the people who like people going through the justice system or people who were like working like judges and prosecutors and things like that? You were going to help them, or was it for the actual people like potentially going to jail?
My hope was to work with the offenders.
Okay.
Initially, yeah. So, to work with the offenders and probably on the side work with the people who were being affected.
Yeah.
By the issues of like being, victim and that kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Why?
I think it's a real niche. I think it's it's a niche, and two, it was a real need. I think that it's a really interesting area that it gets overlooked. Like the idea of like being able to help in this area in a way that's not prosecutorial or and there's room for that in our work. We know that, but to be able to affect some change in that area was interesting to me. Like I like the idea of advocacy and social justice and working in those areas. And so I felt that would be a good way for me to engage in a social justice approach to the work and be able to be effective in both of those areas.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And would that also kind of include you going to like a prison like after and working with inmates there?
I never did get to do that.
Okay.
But, I take that back. So when I came to North Bay, I was hired as an addictions therapist
Okay.
at a nonprofit. And that was my first role in Canada other than teaching. And when I took on that role, part of the role was to work specifically with the local probation offices and work with their clients on site at probation. Because they attended better if they were on site, right?
Yeah.
And part of my role was also to go into the jails and do assessments to help people bridge from jail to residential treatment.
Right.
So yeah, there was some of that work. It certainly wasn't a heavy focus on my work because that was a small part of my contract, but it was an important one. It was a way for me to use my education that way for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's so many layers to that, and it's, because nobody, I think wakes up and says like in kindergarten, I would like to do things that are against the law and end up in jail, right? It's not kind of a goal, but there's one thing leads to another and, the choice is there or their situation. And
I was always looking at it through like a trauma-informed lens. People don't make those choices deliberately as they, right? They make choices that lead to consequences, right? But there is a whole context of people's lived experience that helps us understand those choices and make sense of them. And if we can do that, then we can maybe help them make change if they're willing and wanting to make that change.
Dear North Bay, you've always been more than a place on the map. You're home to me. This is where I built a life with my husband, raised our kids, and taught in local schools for over 24 years. I'm proud to be part of this community. Earlier this year, my world shifted. After living with anxiety, depression, and PTSD for much of my life, I reached a point where I couldn't keep going alone. Walking into the emergency department at the North Bay Regional Health Center was one of the hardest things I've ever done. But what I found there changed everything. A nurse who made me feel safe, a crisis worker who truly listened. For the first time in a long time, I felt seen. That care gave me hope, and it inspired me to give back by supporting local healthcare so that others in our community can access the same compassionate care I did. If my story resonates with you, I hope you'll consider supporting the NBRHC Foundation. Please visit nbrhcfoundation.ca or call 705-495-8125 to give. Because mental health is health. With gratitude, Tiffany Van Meer.
North Bay's turning 100, and what a time to be here. From the buzz of the Heritage Parade to sunset concerts at the waterfront, the city is alive with celebration. And you know who's right in the middle of it all? Homewood Suites by Hilton North Bay. We're proud to be a part of this milestone moment. Whether you're coming home from a family reunion, planning a gathering with friends, or just simply making the most of everything the Centennial has to offer, our doors are open. Stay in a spacious suite that feels like home, with a full kitchen to cook in, room to relax, and a space to unwind after a full day of fun. Are you hosting something bigger? Our event spaces and amazing local partners like the Grand and Stock Transportation make it easy to bring people together. Best of all, they're just steps from the action. The fireworks, the food trucks, the music, the laughter, it's all right here. Celebrate 100 years of North Bay with us. Use code Centennial to save on your stay anytime this year. Be at home with Homewood Suites by Hilton North Bay. Join the party today at 495 Oak Street West or give us a call at 705-495-3000.
Why? I'm really interested in the name. So Bright Raven, psychotherapy and consulting. The Raven has some pretty cool things about it.
Yeah.
Have you always liked ravens, or like what? Maybe give us the context of.
So it's really interesting. So during COVID, I think everybody experienced a lot of crossroads during COVID, and I was certainly among those people. And my first encounter with a raven was just on my street. I was going to get the mail, and all of a sudden, it just got so quiet on my street, like spookily quiet. Oh. And I felt like I was being watched, and I was like, that's really interesting. It was really interesting. Okay. And then I looked back, and on my yard, like the entrance to my yard, was a raven sitting there. And he just stared me down, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I had a friend, I asked him, he was an Indigenous Algonquin man, and ravens were his spirit animal. And so I asked him about him. And so he told me about ravens, and he got me, some stories about the raven and that kind of thing. So that was really interesting. But the name comes from a road trip. Like all good stories start with a road trip.
Yep.
My husband and I and my family, we were driving the North Shore of Lake Superior home from the U.S. back to North Bay. And we were tossing around business ideas like names. Okay. And so we landed on two. And Bertrand, my last name, the old Germanic origin. It's a French name, of course, but it's a Germanic origin, and it means bright raven.
No way.
Yeah. So we stuck with that. And then I was like, okay, I was still between these two. And then I went to a best friend of mine, and we've worked together for years. He's gotten to know me as a therapist, professional, and we know each other personally. And I went to him and I said, look, you're creative. What do you think would be a good business name? But I didn't tell him anything. I didn't tell him my ideas. I didn't say a word. And he came back with Bright Raven.
What?
Yeah. No word of a lie. I'm so serious. So
Whoa.
That was it. That was
okay.
Then it was like, this is the clear choice, right? Yeah. The other one was out the door right away, and it was Bright Raven's the one. Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if there was any kind of Indigenous, reference to it or yeah.
Well, and my friend, he is an Indigenous man as well. So he also he wrote on my website, it explains the raven and why I've chosen it. And him and I together created the narrative of what the raven means to me and as well, like how it sort of, is linked to the work that I do and my philosophy of work and that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have a team with you.
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I have 3 therapists that work with me, and they all specialize in different areas. So Brittany McCrae specializes in anxiety disorders, so she does a lot of great work in that area. I have Kira Brown, who is specializes in kiddos and youth, particularly kiddos that have both mental health and neurodiversity, such as autism or ADHD. And then I have another great therapist, Siobhan Bell, who works with women. She also works with younger adults as well, through that transitional age and stressors and that kind of thing. Wow. They're all great. They all are such wonderful people to have. And I'm so proud of them because they show up. They're very authentic. They're very eager to learn. I do supervision with them, and they're just a good vibe. Like I really do love how they've shown up for the business and for me. How
did you pick them, or how were they, like, was it kind of an audition thing? I always say audition, Brittany, interview.
Yeah, I do interview them. Brittany and I have known each other for many, many years. Okay. We worked in previous sectors together. And Kira and Siobhan actually started out as placement students with me. So I'd offered them a placement to get their, to be able to complete their master's.
That's awesome.
And then I hired them after.
Yeah, because then you can really kind of see if you gel.
That's right.
Because, you know, the type of work that you do, I mean, the environment has to be something that's not going to be, you know, stirring the pot and kind of, you know what I mean? You all want to get along well and be able to communicate effectively. And
for sure. So yeah, they're great. They come in, I'm able to mentor them and give them some guidance, right? And then, you know, with their clients that they just have natural strengths that I don't have.
Yeah.
I don't particularly work with kids anymore. I did in my early years. I don't anymore. So it's great that we can still offer services for youth and kids through these great ladies. They're awesome.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
What do you like about working with couples?
Oh, so much. So much. So interesting too, I never in my early years saw myself as a couples therapist.
Okay. How come? Like,
well, for one, families and couples are messy. There's lots of intense work about working with families and couples versus just one-on-one.
Sure.
But I think it was, I think I was always suited to work with couples, but I didn't have the right training. So I decided to invest a lot of time and professional development into doing couples therapy so I could do it well. Okay. So it was a confidence issue. It wasn't so much that I probably couldn't do it. It was more of a confidence thing. But what I love about them is that despite their messiness, all of us are messy. I say that very often to people, right? All of us have a story. All of us have stuff that we're working through. Despite all of that, many of them have a very deep love and affection and bond together. And that's a cool thing to witness. Yeah. Even when they are struggling, even when they are not their best selves, in the room with each other, they come in. I as a dreamer, I believe in love. Like, I think it's really the most powerful force that we have. And so it's really cool to see that in spite of their struggle.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, is there ever a time, though, when like a successful kind of session ends with them going their separate ways?
It means separating from the relationship?
Yeah.
In couples therapy, it like the approach that I take in particular, and my training is that we don't necessarily, as a therapist, my goal is not to find an outcome for them. That is their choice.
Okay.
What we achieve in session is if they come to that choice feeling successful. And if it means a separation, if that means what's best for them, then I support that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because ultimately you want them both to thrive, be happy, and you know.
Yes. Yeah. And if they are parents and they go through a separation, then the therapy approach that I use can ready them for effective co-parenting. And I do say that to people who come in who are probably are voicing or concerned that they're on the brink of a separation, or they're you know, going through a betrayal, and they're trying to figure out if they want to stay. I do tell them, you know, and I'm very transparent and honest. I just say, you know, this may not be the outcome you get, but this could be another benefit of going through this together, is you could be good parents to your kids.
Yeah. That is such a that's something hard, I think, because I mean, you know, you hear stories, whether it's, you know, work, socially, whatever, just about, you know, certain couples that are just not very good at that. And I'm like, it's only the kids that suffer, you know? It's like, guys,
it really
come
is.
on, figure it out. You know, if for not anybody else than your kids, like, just do it for them and show that, because I think it is possible.
Yeah.
It is possible, and some people, I think, like I have an aunt and uncle who met in grade 10 and they've been together ever since.
Yeah.
And that is it. And then other people have different relationships throughout their life. You know what I mean? Like it's everybody's different and everybody's, everyone's
the success
journey
of
is
a
different.
relationship is not necessarily its longevity.
Exactly.
Right? It's the level of engagement and care and bonding. And if at some point that relationship ends, it doesn't mean it was a failure.
Right.
Right?
That's
there were still some
something-
successes in that relationship.
I love that you just said that because that is something I think that society, that's a major thing. And I do the exact same thing. Like in where I work, we have a lot of older people coming in, especially, to get cataracts and stuff. And I'll be the first to congratulate them. If they're like, oh, we just had our 50th. And it's like, oh my God, that's amazing. And it is amazing.
Yeah.
But like you said, I mean, not everybody who's been married 50 years still like each other.
That's right.
Because, there's that's a big important thing too, is you have to like each other. And like you said, I mean, I just heard that the other day actually, where somebody said, it's not the length of a relationship, it's what both of you got out of it. Or, because I do think people come into your life for a certain reason at a certain time. There's different seasons for even platonic friends.
Yeah.
Is that something that you deal with? Do you ever deal with people like coming in to talk about those type of relationships, like platonic or work relationships?
Yeah, I actually think that most people go to therapy because of a relationship in their life. And I think that's why I have pivoted my focus in my practice to working in relational pieces, especially with couples. But yes, people are coming because of a work relationship. They're coming because of a friend. Friendships are so challenging because there isn't a script for how we start a friendship or end a friendship.
Right.
And that's where people really struggle. They struggle, with maybe some anxieties about approaching new people and getting to know new people and joining a group. And how do I do that? And, am I going to fit in? There's no, especially for adults, there's no script, right? You go to a school, whoever's closest to you, whoever's willing to play with you. Yeah, we're friends.
Yeah. Well, she's in the desk beside me.
Yeah.
So now we have to be friends. Yeah.
Right? So that's so easy. Yeah. But for adults, there's no real good script. And then I think a significant pain that I work with a lot is when friendships end.
Yeah.
Where people are just like, this person drifted away, I don't know what happened, or this person betrayed me, they really hurt me. Yeah. And we work through that similar to other grief work, really. So it can be for sure grief. Yeah, if you have a friendship and it's a weird thing to get your head around because I think like you said, when you're a little person, you're just a little kid. You might move neighborhoods, you go to a different school. Yeah, you join a team,
you're like,
activity.
Boom, they're gone. Now I have new people. Like I think it's easier to kind of move through that and not kind of dwell on like, how come I'm not friends with Francois anymore? Like we don't, we were so good in grade 2. Now I'm in grade 3. But I think when you're an adult, there's some kind of thing where you okay, I have my friends and that's it. We're good till I'm 90.
Yeah.
Even though you still live in the same town or whatever, you might not be. You might kind of drift apart. You might kind of go separate ways. And again, doesn't mean that wasn't an awesome friendship. No. Or that you didn't need each other at that time, I guess, right? Yeah.
Well, and I think people too, they're coming in struggling a lot with feeling alone and loneliness, right?
Yeah.
And that is a really painful human experience to feel alone. Because we're not wired to be alone. We're wired for connection. We're wired to be with other people. We're wired to be social and in relationships. So when those relationships are difficult to navigate, hard to, determine their level of safety, emotional safety, all those pieces, it can be really painful because our deepest wiring is to be with others.
Right.
Right? So even though we will, we're born alone and we die alone, it's kind of a little morbid saying, but it's out there, right? But in the middle of all of that, we are actually wired to be together.
Yeah.
So I think it's one of the primary reasons if I was to look at all my caseload, any of the topics we talk about, it could be any topic really, but the core of it is relationships and for a lot of people. Yeah.
Except for if you're you and I, and we love, we're introverts.
Yeah.
And people laugh when I say that at work because I love doing this I love being on stage. I love doing a play. But the second that's done, my happy place is my living room. It's just like a quiet little, I was never a barfly. I was never, I just never wanted to go out or do anything. I don't know. I just like to, Well, I like peace. I like quiet.
There's a quality of a depth of quality of relationships if you're friends with an introvert, right?
Yes.
It's a different experience.
Totally.
It's a different energy.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a strength. Like I used to, as a kid and as a young woman, right? It was all about being in groups and being out, and there was lots of pressure around that, right? But I'm quite comfortable knowing that the depth of the relationships I do have is really rich.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's something to be said for, like you said, you're born alone, you die alone. Like I love my own company. Mm-hmm. I always have. Even as a little kid, I could play for hours in my room. Like I'm not nervous about being alone. Like I love to, have my own little routine, my thing. Certainly I love to be with people, know. But like an introvert, they say, tell me if this is right, if you know, but they say, when you're an introvert, you kind of get you recharge by being quiet and alone, and then you can kind of go out and do these social things. But whereas an extrovert gets recharged, by going to the party kind of a thing,
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. So it's that fine balance of like, you can't be alone too long.
No.
Then you start to go a little batty.
Yeah.
You start to look at the wall and slip slowly into madness. No, you get up to your own things. Hey, before you go, it says there's many things on I love your bio. I love in your bio on your website that because quite often you go to a website and you're reading about the services they offer or the team, whether it's a dental office or doctor's office, you're reading the team and they talk about their professional accreditations, which sure, that's great. Mm-hmm. And then it kind of ends there, or they'll say kind of something like, I want to provide the best service I can. But what I loved about yours is that I kind of felt like I knew you before you came in today. Mm-hmm. I felt, not totally, but I knew something about you. I knew, I love that, it said you were a musician. Mm-hmm. You're a cat person.
I am.
Which I am too. You play street hockey with your kids. Come on. Like I grew up playing street hockey. You have a garden. You love a good book. Like I was like, Brooke and I are new best friends.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm going to stalk her now. No, I'm kidding. I'll be like, hey, I'm outside your house. It was really cool. I love that. I love that you put that in because it made you, and I think too, it's can be really scary for somebody to go to a therapist.
Yeah.
Any kind of therapist, right? Like could be stigma in their family, like, oh, you're crazy. That's why you need to go see somebody. No.
Yeah.
So I think it just kind of really, I don't know, it just made you really human.
Thank you.
In a really lovely way.
It's really intentional because when we're in a therapy room with people, they don't necessarily get to know me in the way that I get to know them. Right. Because of the relationship we have.
Yeah.
But it is still a relationship.
Yeah.
And it's an important one.
For sure.
Right? And so I want people to know when they come in that I am just as human as they are, right? Yeah. I have my flaws, I have my interests, I have my humanity, I have, my relationships that I question, I have kids that I chase around, I have, my activities that I like to do, right? Like it's a way for people to get a little snippet, right?
Yeah.
When you come into my office, you get to see, my favorite color is red. I do have lots of books in there because I'm always reading, right? There's snippets of me without saying anything. You get to know me even in there.
Right.
And I just want people to be safe when they come in here. They get to come in that room and practice being who they want to be so they can go out into their lives and do it out there and do it with the people they care about. So it is a relationship. They do have to get to know me a little bit so that they can practice it with the people that they care about.
I love that. That's so cool. What kind of cats do you have? Do you have more than one cat?
I have two. They were brothers that we rescued.
Aww.
So we moved into our house. They were living in our wood pile in the back with their mother. And, I was like, well, we have to catch them because we need to catch them.
Yes.
So next day, go to get a trap. And they were there in the morning. When I got home that night, they were gone, all three of them. I was like, shoot. Oh. So I kept the trap for about a week, whatever, and then I took it back. And then about 6 weeks later in October, Buster's page posted photos of these two kittens. Oh. They were just down the street hanging out with their mom, and people had been feeding them this whole time and trying to catch them, but they were super wild. Anyways, my husband sent me the photo. He's like, these guys look familiar. I'm like, yeah, those are our cats.
In fact, they do.
Yeah. So they got caught. The two boys went in the trap together at the same time. Mom was caught within the hour, and I went to the Humane Society and said, I'd really like to take these two boys. And they said, well, they're a little wild. Not sure if they can be adopted. I said, I'd like to try.
Yeah.
So we fostered them and loved them. And they're lovely.
That's amazing.
Yeah, two brothers. So they're good.
Are they like long hair, short hair? What
short
do they
hairs,
look like?
Both short hairs. Yeah. One's a tuxedo. He's the classic tuxedo.
Love it.
Yeah. And then the other one is a solid gray beauty.
Lovely.
Yeah. And we brought them home on Halloween. So my kids named them Shadow and Spooky.
Of course.
Yeah. So
very good names. Yeah. Very appropriate.
Very appropriate.
A+. A+ kids. Yeah. I like it. Are they? How old are they now? Like, was this a couple years ago?
Well, the cats are 6.
Oh, shoot. Okay, so it was a while ago.
Now.
Yeah. Aw.
Yeah.
That's nice, though. They must be so... I just love little cats, too. Maybe one day.
Yeah. They're awesome.
A kitten of my own. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me. This was great.
This was awesome.
Yeah.
I love chatting with you, and I wish you so much luck.
Thank you.
With the new business and continue helping us in North Bay.
Awesome. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Well, that was Brooke. That was lovely, lovely Brooke. Man, what a lovely aura. I just felt so comfortable and relaxed right away. Like I said, I love that she put some stuff about herself in her bio on the website. But there was something that she said that just really hit home for me, and I loved it. When she said, when you go to see her, you get to practice who you want to be and what you want your life to be when you're in her office, so that you can take that and then put it into practice kind of in everyday life, in the real world, if you will, in quotation marks. But I just thought it was a really cool sentence and something that just hit me. I loved it. Anyway, head over to our website, northbayecho.ca. You can sign up for our newsletter. We'll send it right to your inbox. Until next time, much love, North Bay.